So hello guys, welcome back to the Subham Show. So today we have a special guest on our show, Mr. Luke Cannon. He's an entrepreneur and a content creator. So today we will dive into his mind. So let's get started. So today we have a special guest on our show, Mr. Luke Cannon. So welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Same here, brother. So tell us to the audience about you something, brother. A quick introduction.
Yeah. So sure. Yeah. I live in Chicago and currently am working at a home services startup called HomeX. So basically think of it as like an app where you can go on and request a plumber, request an electrician to come to your house. So we're trying to bring a lot of transparency and on-demand stuff to the industry, something that most people don't have. So it's a pretty cool thing we're working on. But I'm actually most passionate about side hustles, and I would love to start my own company one day, and so I'm kind of experimenting with lots of stuff right now. One of which is BirdieBots. So birdiebots.com. It's a Twitter automation tool for creators. So basically, if you're tweeting, a lot of your content won't last longer than say a day, right? So the Twitter algorithm will let it disappear after that. So what we do is we recycle your past content and reuse it, so you can get more out of it, and not have to spend as much time creating new content. So it's still very early. We haven't actually launched yet, but hopefully January, sometime early next year, you'd be able to start with us. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. But yeah, passionate about marketing, passionate about LinkedIn. Actually, it's where I first got started. And yeah, so happy to talk about whatever's interesting.
Yeah, brother. So tell me, what impact had LinkedIn created in your life? And I have checked out your
Yeah, so
LinkedIn.
so
It was
LinkedIn.
great.
Yeah, actually curious what about it, or what did you see that was interesting in particular?
You post a particular poll in your LinkedIn every day, which was great. It was
Yeah,
a great idea.
yeah, yeah. So I first got into LinkedIn like most people do, kind of here in Chicago in the U.S. After I think like at the end of high school or the beginning part of college, as you're kind of thinking about jobs and careers, you get a LinkedIn, right? That's what everyone does. But then what I realized was that I had thoughts and ideas I wanted to share, kind of like on Twitter, and LinkedIn is also a great place to share those. So I started posting about my job search, posting about Fortnite. I liked Fortnite, and had thoughts about it, et cetera, right? Random stuff. And it turns out that LinkedIn is a great place to post content because 99% of people on the platform are not posting content. And so LinkedIn doesn't have enough content to give all the people who log in every day. And so you can get a lot of views, a lot of impressions, and if it's really good content, can actually go viral and get millions of views. And not a lot of people know this or like this because they see LinkedIn as a professional network. So it's been really powerful for me to create content there every day. And so it's been a journey. I wasn't very consistent at first, but since March or so for 8 months, I've been posting every day on something that I'm interested in, marketing, professional development, random business topics like is Netflix up to, what is Spotify up to, et cetera. And it's funny you mentioned the daily LinkedIn poll. That's actually so one thing I do a lot is I'll kind of do these experiments to see what's going to work. And so if you go onto my LinkedIn right now, in my headline it says follow for a daily LinkedIn poll. So that's something I started literally 2 days ago. So It's very new, and I'm always like testing these things. And if something resonates, if something works, I'll keep doing it. But I'm just trying to like figure out what resonates, what actually gives me more followers, and is also interesting to people who follow me. So yeah, LinkedIn, very powerful, very underrated. Most people don't use it, but yeah.
So what makes LinkedIn others than the other social media?
Yeah. So if you think about something like a Facebook or an Instagram, almost everyone on Facebook or Instagram is posting, right? They have pictures to share. They updates from family. They're sharing funny videos, right? But they're just not doing that on LinkedIn because their boss is on LinkedIn. Their colleagues at work, people who they're worried about, what they'll see. And so as a result, they just don't share on LinkedIn. Basically, it's just like a blank slate. It's empty. There's nothing. And so that means that there's room for content. And LinkedIn needs content to serve you when you log in. So they end up promoting the content that they do have to more people. So, on Facebook, if you post, maybe it'll reach like 10 or 100 of your friends. On LinkedIn, if you post, it's probably going to reach like, 500 of your friends, and it's going to reach like 500 of your friends' friends, right? So like LinkedIn serves it to extra people because they need that content. So, you get extra views for your business, whatever it is. There's this guy that I like on LinkedIn. His name is Taylor Offer. Look him up. He's pretty popular. He's like 100,000 followers. And it's actually funny. So his kind of like, full-time job actually is running this online, e-commerce startup selling hoodies, selling sweatshirts, like this sort of. And so, but he gets free advertising by just posting on LinkedIn. And a lot of people aren't doing this, but he has told me that he's able to sell about $25,000 worth of product every day due to like LinkedIn. And this is just organic, traffic from his posts. But most brands aren't doing this. Most brands, keep LinkedIn very professional. They post about careers. They post about, new product launches, et cetera. But one of the more powerful ways can actually be to like engage with your audience, and, build a relationship that way. So yeah, LinkedIn.
What are your top 5 LinkedIn account, means favorite LinkedIn account?
Yeah, LinkedIn influencers. So I'm going to think about this. So Taylor Offer, number 1.
Yeah.
Highly recommend you checking him out. He just posts engaging kind of business content, pretty solid all around. I follow a lot of folks in the marketing space. So Dave Gerhardt, Gerhardt. He is the chief marketing officer at a company called Privy. So they're an app for Shopify stores, and he's become kind of like a really big influencer in the marketing space. He'll just like post some random thing every day. And he even has like a paid marketing group you can join. But honestly, if you just follow him on LinkedIn, you're getting like a free class every day about, some random thought about how to be genuine or human or whatever it is to your customers. Another guy would be Justin Welsh. So he's more sales focused, but he shares lots of kind of like tips for sales representatives, or just generally how to sell yourself, how to build a presence online. So, it's always fun following Justin. Someone else I'd recommend would be Jordan Paris. So he's so he has this podcast called Growth Mindset University, where he kind of talks with people and learns about progress and growth and learning and that sort of stuff. I think he actually just recently changed the podcast name to the Jordan Paris Show, just because he's been getting on like a lot bigger guests and he wants to talk about broader topics. But it's been cool to see his growth. He's got some kind of more controversial opinions. So, for example, one of them is that basically you shouldn't go to college, which I like completely disagree with. I think college is very valuable still. He doesn't. The funny thing is he goes to college. You know, his parents are making him go to college, but yeah. So even though I don't agree with everything he says, he's a good follow. And then the fifth person, this is tough. Put me on the spot. There's this guy, Mark Metry, Metry. He's the host of another podcast and just wrote a book. So he talks a lot about kind of like mental health, how to like get over your insecurities, get over being shy, and like put yourself out there. But yeah, he's an awesome follow as well. So there's tons of people like I could go on, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what makes you goes in the part of entrepreneurship?
What makes me interested in it?
Yeah.
I think it's the ability to build and have a really huge impact on something. So I never saw myself as someone who would be happy at like a really big company where you're just kind of like a cog in the machine. Although I did apply to some of those companies in college, I was like, whatever, hey, they're going to pay me a lot, sure. But I think like deep down, everyone was really interested in them. And so when I graduated college and my co-op or internship the year before, they were both at this very young startup in Washington, D.C. And got to like try and experiment a lot of different things there. And then this past spring, actually got laid off because COVID had affected us. So the team like went from 50 people to 2 people. So I started looking for another job, and my default was always I want to look at startups. So landed on the startup where I'm currently at in Chicago, HomeX. It's awesome. It's very kind of fast-moving culture, kind of like you'd expect in like a typical Silicon Valley startup. But we're outside Silicon Valley, obviously in Chicago. So yeah, but I like that. I like that 0 to 1 phase. Like having nothing, and then creating something out of that. And so that's why my passion at the moment is more Birdie Bots. This side project that I'm building with a friend, rather than HomeX, because HomeX is a pretty established company. We've got hundreds of employees, been around for 5 years or so. But yeah, I really like that 0 to 1 phase of entrepreneurship.
Okay, brother. So you are also very much active in Twitter. So what are your thoughts on Twitter? And also your company is related to Twitter.
What's related to Twitter? Sorry.
Your company is also related to Twitter, like it tweets.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So the funny thing is, I actually didn't really get on Twitter until this spring. So there's this guy on Twitter that I really love, David Perell. Are you familiar with him, or do you follow David Perell?
No.
Okay, so I highly recommend checking him out. He runs an online writing school called Rite of Passage, but his podcast is really.
My favorite account is Naval. Do you follow Naval? Naval Ravikant.
Yeah, Naval. Yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So David Perell is kind of like he's definitely not a Naval person. He's but he's great. Definitely check him out. Perell is Perell. But he's really huge on Twitter. So he thinks Twitter is basically the best LinkedIn. Like it's the best place to meet people professionally. And he thinks that, LinkedIn has kind of failed in that aspect. And so I'm like, hey, I'll, get started on LinkedIn, I think, or on Twitter, sorry. I think a lot of people use Twitter just to like stay up to date on the news or, coronavirus, whatever, right? But he's basically figure out a way that you can use Twitter that isn't stressful or political or et cetera, right? So, follow people who actually are tweeting ideas, unfollow the people that don't resonate, curate your feed so you're only seeing what you want, and build an audience by by tweeting topics in some area of interest. So I've tried to follow that since this spring. I'm by no means very popular. I only have a couple hundred followers. But one of the first things I noticed was that there was an opportunity to build a tool around Twitter. So I really loved David Perel. He had lots of past tweets that I resonated with. And so I built a bot, basically just like using simple Python, that would take all his old tweets and then repost them as a new tweet. And this got traction. David Perel would retweet it. And so today that bot has 3,000 followers. And I've also built bots for several other popular people on Twitter. So yeah, and you might be familiar with the Naval bot, because someone else, not me, built a bot for Naval that does the same thing. Have you seen that?
Sorry?
Have you seen Naval's bot?
Yeah. Naval Ravikant, he had another Twitter account. He has.
Okay, yeah. So I didn't build that, but basically the idea is we're creating a platform that will make it really easy for anyone like yourself to build a bot like that for your favorite person, or even for your own account. So you could create a bot that runs in the background,
Okay.
And is resharing these posts,
It's awesome.
on your own account. Just a way to kind of automate content and not have to, tweet stuff, or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's been an interesting journey because, mostly I'm a Twitter outsider. I'm not familiar with it. But I think that perspective actually helped me find this opportunity and start building Berry bots. So
Yeah. I also meet you in the comment section of Naval's tweet, reply section. I saw
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Twitter's a great place to meet people. I think that's where a lot of business and relationships happen. So
Did Twitter impacted anything in your life?
yeah, well, so it's, as I mentioned, it's, the business I'm currently building, and I've definitely, met a lot of really cool people on it. So I'm currently doing a ship 30 for 30 challenge, basically, where I write 30 essays in 30 days. And, I discovered this via Twitter. Almost everyone in the group is on Twitter. And then I think there's like 50 of us who are doing this challenge. And, all of us are posting our essays to Twitter every day. So it's a pretty short essay. It's nothing big, but it's giving me an opportunity to write about topics I've wanted to write about. And Twitter is what led to that. And I'm gaining followers on Twitter, right, from people who are interested in reading those essays. So yesterday I wrote about lessons that I learned rowing. So in college, I was a rower. There's a lot of kind of interesting business takeaways from that. The day before, I talked about why budgets are bad and an alternative, marginal budgeting. And then the day before, I talked about why Zoom has made us soft, and why virtual meetings are really not working. And I think that one really resonated with a lot of people. So yeah, anyone who's interested, you can go check them out on Twitter. They're all posted to my
Link in the description. So I saw you your specific tweet, which was like, one of the worst thing a company can do is use hashtag. What does it means?
Yeah. So yeah, it was one of the worst things a company can do is use hashtags, basically. So I think a lot of companies do this because they think that a hashtag gives them extra reach, or they think funny or in. Well, I'm here to tell you that actually it's not. I don't think anyone actually thinks you're funny for using 6 hashtags anymore. Sometimes, there's one trending hashtag that you can actually use that's relevant, but it's not what most brands are using. So most brands, they'll have their text on a tweet or a LinkedIn post or an Instagram post, and then like 6 hashtags below it. So if you're a home services company, like my company, HomeX, what a lot of companies will do is they'll say, whatever in the post, and then below it'll be like hashtag home services, hashtag plumbing, hashtag electric, hashtag, everything, right? But I think if you think about the customer experience on apps, most of the times we're not clicking on a hashtag. We're not going to discover people through hashtags. And so what it ends up doing is just kind of clogging the feed up. It doesn't appear human because, if you're on Instagram, you're not going to do that with your own post. And so why should a brand do that? The brand is not appearing human by doing that. It's appearing kind of like actually the opposite, like an outsider. So the alternative is to be human. And I think most of the time that means no hashtags or occasionally one hashtag. So some brands that do this well, I think there's a lot of them on Twitter, particularly because they've discovered what works. But here in the US, popular restaurants like Wendy's and Burger King and Subway and, et cetera, they all have this kind of like beef over literally beef over, marketing and trying to gain audience share. And they're just human, right? So like they'll tweet something at 7 a.m. about, I don't know, what are you going to drink this morning, right? Which is like silly, but it's like they're just like, playing about jokes in the culture and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that the broader point was that brands just should be human, and hashtags are not a part of that.
Also, dude, I have seen about you something that you write a lot. So I think that a person who write a lot also read a lot. So what are your top 5 book recommendations?
Yeah. So I definitely am not reading as much as I wish I would. I wish I had a lot more time to read, but yeah, so some awesome book recommendations. So Give and Take by Adam Grant, who's a psychologist at University of Pennsylvania, is a great book about different types of people. So basically he divides people into 3 groups. You have givers, you have matchers, and you have takers. So givers are people who will do things for others without wanting anything in return. Takers are people who expect other people to do something for them, and it's always about what can you do for me. And then matchers are people who expect kind of like a quid pro quo, like I'll do something for you, what are you going to do for me? And his research interestingly shows that that givers actually often have much higher success in life. They're perceived as more open and sociable and honest by others. So as a result, that leads to outsized results and rewards for them. So that's one really awesome book. Yeah, I have to think of some other ones. So I like a lot of history and biography. So a couple biographies of of American presidents that I like, or other just American historical figures. So Alexander Hamilton, there's a great biography that the musical is based off of. That is awesome. There's a really great book about Abraham Lincoln, With Malice Towards None, and another one, Team of Rivals. But yeah, a couple more business picks. There's one called The Lean Startup, which is about kind of scaling a startup and not spending a lot of money doing it. Like, how can you do this smartly so that you can pivot and like figure out what people want and find product market fit quickly. So The Lean Startup is great. And then there's another one called The Art of the Start. And these are both of these are very classic business books, about entrepreneurship and stuff. But The Art of the Start is fantastic as well.
So, brother, let's end the podcast with a last question. I would ask you is that which is your you can say a specific sentence or a word which is really motivated to you, is really had a great impact in your life.
Yeah. So, that's actually a good question. I think honestly, I think honestly, something that works for me is just having very small habits that I want to keep up and I don't want to break. So, for example, posting on LinkedIn, something I've done every day since March. It's very hard now for me to think about breaking that because it's a streak I've had for a long time. But I think alternatively, accountability and other people that I'm accountable to is a big factor. So for this Ship 30 for 30 challenge, we have a group of 60 of us, and we've got smaller subgroups of people that are asking, hey, you haven't posted today, or you haven't wrote your essay today, where is it? So that accountability works a lot. I think humans, we all struggle with this. We're all, lazy at times and unproductive. And, it's never going to go away. There's never going to be some like magic motivation. It's like sometimes you need that accountability from other people. So
thank you, Luke, for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, no, this was a great conversation.
Yeah, dude, same here. Thank you guys for watching out the podcast, and I will see you guys in the next one.